To get started, you're going to need yarn of your choice. Size 6 needles. You can either use straight, circular, or double pointed with some stoppers on the end like I have here. And 2 buttons. So to start off, you're going to cast on 28 stitches. If you have a long remaining tail, that's fine because we're going to have to sew them up in the end. Doesn't really matter what cast on you use, just whatever's easier, because after we sew them you won't even see the cast on. So with the remaining tail, just to get it out of your way, just make a quick little bobble. This will also act as our guide for telling us what's the wrong side of our work. So when the bobble or remaining yarn is on your right, that's going to be the wrong side of your work. So the very first row starts on the wrong side, and we're just going to knit across. For this whole little shoe, you're just going to knit across all the wrong side rows or back rows. All the increases will be taking place in the front of the shoe. So just knit across your first row. So you're going to start off row 2, and you're going to start your increase row. So start by knitting 1, then you're going to make a stitch. Now you can decide what kind of increases you want to do. So you can either do the whole knit in front and back of stitch, you can do yarn overs and then knit through the back loop on your next round, or you can pick up the bar in between your stitches, place it on your needle, and knit through the back. So after you do your first increase, then you're going to knit 12. So now you've knitted your 12, you're technically in the center of the booty. Now you're going to make another stitch. So just pick up the bar, or however you chose to do your increases, and you're going to make a new stitch. Then you're going to knit 1, and then you're going to repeat that. So you start by knitting 1, making 1. So for this, I'm going to show you what if you did a yarn over. So it's time to increase, you just yarn over. Then you knit through the back loop on the next round. So you're going to knit your 12. Then you increase and knit 1. Then on your back row you just knit across. So now that we've done our increases as yarn overs, when you come up you'll have your open stitch because of the yarn over. You're just going to knit through the back of the loop, and then you just close the hole. Then you knit across to your next increase yarn over. So instead of just knitting it through the front, which would keep the hole, you're going to go through the back loop which will in turn close the hole. So that could be an easy way to do your increases if you don't like picking up the bar in between the stitches. Just remember to knit through the back loop in order to close them. Okay, so now for row 4, you're going to start off by knitting 2. And then you're going to make a stitch. And now you're going to knit 12. Then after you've knit 12, then we're going to make a stitch. So you're going to increase 1. Then you're going to knit 2. Then you're going to make a stitch. Then you're going to repeat from the beginning up until the last knit 2. So you start off by knitting 2, make a stitch, knit 12, then you're going to make a stitch, and then you're going to knit your final 2. And then you're just going to knit across the back. So now we're on row 6, and pretty much the same as before, except this time we're going to start with a knit 3. And then we're going to do our increase. And then knit 12. Then we're going to increase. Then we're going to knit 2. And we're going to increase again. Then we're going to knit 3. And we're going to increase again. Knit 2. Increase again. Then we're going to knit 12. After your 12, then you're going to increase one more stitch and knit your last 3. Now for rows 7 through 14, you're just going to knit across both sides. So once you've done that, then we'll come back and continue on. So after you've done your 7 rows of knit, this is what you should have by now. So now this row, row 15, you're going to start what's going to make the shape of the booty. Because right now you just have like this little bit of a ridge to your work. This is actually going to make it start popping out. So you're going to start off by knitting 13. So after you've done your 13, now we're going to be doing a slip, slip, knit. So these are going to be decreases and we're going to do 4 of them. So you want to slip your first stitch, slip your second stitch, go through the front of both of them, and you want to then knit them together. So that was 1 decrease, so now you're going to do it again. So slip, slip, go in the front of them, and then knit them together. So you're going to slip, slip, go in the front, and then knit them together. So that was 3. Now we're going to do our last one. So after you've done your 4 slip, slip knits, then we're just going to knit 1. And now we're going to do knit 2 together. So the slip, slip knits help it lean one way, and the knit 2 together makes it lean the other. So now we're going to do 4 knit 2 together. So you just go around, grab 2 stitches, knit them together. We got 2, 3, and 4. And then you just knit the 13 that are left. And now you can see the pop out of the slipper starting to come together. So now you're just going to knit across your next row. So now for row 17, you're going to start off by knitting 8. So once you have your 8, now we're going to start binding off to create the front opening of the shoe. So you're going to be binding off 19 stitches. So you start by knitting 1, knit your second one, and then begin to bind off. We don't want to pull any of those first 8 into the bind off. Do this a little on the loose side, not too loose, but don't do it too tight. So now you have your last one that needs to be bound off and your last 8. So you're just going to proceed into your knit 8 and then just bind off your last stitch. So then this one is part of your 8, and then you're just going to knit the remaining 7. Now you can really see how much that decrease has turned this into our little bootie. So now here is where we're going to be starting the strap. So to get a right shoe, you're going to put the right sides together. So now remember, this marks, when it's on the right, it marks the wrong side. So you're going to put the right sides together. So this is going to stay here. And you're going to be, this is also why double needles work pretty good for this, because you could just slide them off whatever end and put them back on where you need them. So when you're looking at the front of your slipper, you're going to be taking off the right side, and then you're going to be placing it in front of here. So this marks, with this being here on the right side, this marks the wrong side, and we want to put the right ones together. So that is why we're transferring these in front of what we consider the wrong side marker. So now you're going to have to cut your yarn. You don't have to leave that long of a tail, but just a little one. And now we're going to knit across the back of these stitches. So you're just going to grab the yarn, make a new tail, and you're going to knit 7. Then with one stitch from this half and one stitch from this half, you're going to knit 2 together. And then you're going to knit the remaining 7. So after you've knit that, then you can choose however you want to cast on the stitches for your strap. But what I like to do is then turn my work and just purl them on. So you just go in as if to purl, and then just slip it back onto your left needle. And then purl again and slip it on. And you're going to cast on 13. So once you have your 13 cast on, now you're just going to knit across all of them. So now on the reverse side, you're just going to knit 25. So basically you're just going to knit to the last 3. So once you get down to your last 3 or have knitted 25, you're going to yarn over, and this is going to be making our buttonhole. Then you're going to do a slip, slip, knit, and then knit your final one. Now on this side, this would be row 4 of our strap, you're going to knit across while binding off. So just knit like normal. When you have 2 on your right needle, just going to pull 1 off. You're going to do that all the way across. And again, you want to do this loose, but not too loose and not too tight, because this is the strap, so we want some give to it, but we don't want it too big. So once you've done your last bind off, then you're just going to pull a length of yarn, pull it through the loop, and tighten it. Then you have your Mary Jane all knitted up. So now because we put the right sides together, after we sew this, we will be turning this out. So this will become our left shoe. Now in addition to a large needle to sew in the ends of yarn, you're going to be needing some matching thread and a sewing needle so that we can place our buttons. So first you want to start, or I like to start with the bottom of our slipper. So we're just going to take out the bobbin from our first cast on, and we're going to thread it onto our needle. And you're going to line up your slipper. You're going to flatten it in half and line it up. And then I just did a whip stitch, so that's where you grab from across the way so you just pull it over to the other side. You pick up the edging there and the edging across the way. Now you can sew this up whichever way that you prefer. This one's easiest and pretty seamless. Once you turn it over, because the whole shoe is in a garter stitch, you don't even see it. So just pull kind of tight on it and just pick up the edges from both sides. Then just do one last one right at the toe. Then when you turn it right side out, you can barely see the seam. It blends right in with the stitches on the outside, and on the inside it is so flat that you wouldn't even feel it. So after you do that last toe area, then you're just going to pick up random bars underneath on the inside of the shoe, and you're just going to weave in the tail of that sewing yarn. And when you got it all weaved in, then you're just going to cut it. Still with the shoe folded wrong side out, then you're going to take this tail that's up here by the ankle, and you're going to sew up this back seam. Just cut the remaining yarn. And now we're going to do the same thing with this side piece here that we used to do the top. So you're just going to thread that, weave it in, do the same thing with this one here on the edge of our cast off, and you're just going to weave that in too, and then we'll come back and we're going to add the button. So once you got all the ends weaved in, Then you're just going to turn your shoe right side out. And then you're going to pull the strap over, find the yarn over, which we made for the buttonhole, and you're going to just line it up, kind of figure out where you're going to place your button. You're going to put some matching thread into your needle. Going to grab one of your buttons, and I like to place it almost as if you were looking at the stitches, one stitch from the edge. Now you could do matching buttons or contrasting buttons. Make sure you face the buttonholes the same on either shoe and place them relatively in the same spot. Then from the inside of the shoe, you're just going to poke your needle out through the hole of the button. In the back, you're just going to hold on to the thread, and you're just going to keep going from inside to outside and then outside to end. Then you're just going to end with the thread on the inside of your shoe. You're just going to pick up a couple of fibers of yarn, leave a small hole, thread it through and pull it tight. This is going to create our knot. And we're just going to do that once or twice just to create a nice hold inside the slipper. Trim any yarn you have, and then you just find your yarn over on your strap and place your button through it. So now you have a cute little Mary Jane, and then you just make its twin to match it. So now you have your left and right Mary Jane. So now you can make these any color, any size. You just do the exact same pattern, but you change the needle size and the yarn size, and then you'll get different size shoes. This pattern here will fit approximately between 6 and 12 months. You can see how just using a different yarn can change the size of the shoe. The exact same pattern, same size needle, except this was done with Red Heart worsted weight yarn, and this was used with the Caron super soft yarn. You can clearly see different in size, same size needle, just change the yarn. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on these cute little baby Janes. If you make them, please send me photos. I'd love to see how yours turn out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.